Okay, so I've been getting some questions about the LMS learning management system that I use. I'm using for my course that I've been using with training organisations. It's called Moodle, and it's basically probably 50% of the RTOs that I've worked with over the last 10 years use it. It's like WordPress, but basically for RTOs. It's a free shareware or what do you call it, open source software. And just like WordPress, there's 400 plugins that allow you to do automated functions and all this sort of stuff. So if you've built a WordPress website, you might be familiar with this sort of thing. But I just use the stock standard basic one without any downloaded plugins, and it's very powerful and it allows you to do things like put in the stop go gates. Now, this is what people don't understand in business. You don't automate in business to save yourself work. You automate in business to so that you can spend time with people that want your attention. How do they get your attention? Well, you make them go through some jump gates and all this sort of thing. If people want your attention in the first case, they'll just send in an inquiry form or something like that. But not everyone that comes to your business. Some people want to order online. Some people just want to go through and do it themselves. Some people want to try and do it themselves. And that's getting more and more a percentage of your marketplace there as well. So what we've done is setting this up. We've actually put how I'm going to be able to monitor it and have a lot of students going through at one time, is I'm actually going to put in some gates or monitoring features of the free program, which I'll just run through in a minute. Now, this is where when I go to an RTO and I do it for them, the trainers go, oh no, but that's taking the customer contact and it's taking away from their job. No, it's basically meaning that what they're doing when they say that if you take all of these stop go gates out and all of this progression tracking software out, it's not so that you can watch what everyone's doing. That's not how you use it. The good trainers actually use it, and they see when people are falling behind, and they send them an email and say, hey, can we reach out? Because not everyone wants to ask for help either, but they mightn't realize that they're behind. So this is where I see a lot of RTOs, they say that their trainer costs are killing them or they can't get good trainers. When the trainers are saying to you to take this stuff out, basically what they're doing is they're trying to make you need them and that you can't get in other trainers because they're trying to basically create more work for themselves, which generally they get paid by the hour, okay? So they don't get paid by outcomes. If you're talking to trainers that get paid to deliver a course and they get paid on the delivery or a commission or something like that, which is what happens in marketing courses or business courses outside of the formal system, they want all this stuff put in there because they want to be able to jump in quickly, have a look at a report, see where people are up to, and then see who's the people that they want to spend attention with, okay? So there we go. It's going in there. Why we don't use it? This is where it comes down to. Don't forget, like you're trying to create customers or create your business or whatever. You're sort of, that's what you do. This is what trainers do. They don't set up the systems that they use. They actually use the system. So they're the drivers of the car. So this is like making the engine. So I know how the engine works, but I also know how to drive the car. What these people do is they don't see why you need to have a hybrid, an electric, a diesel, a petrol engine all in the one car, because they just want to drive it from A to B, so they don't care about that. So what they see that, oh, well, it runs out of petrol, you have an electric. Oh, but I'm not going to run out of petrol, is their answer. So these are the sort of things that I would use for this system here. Okay, so we're going to go in here, and you see in the first week, there's a little things that comes up, and it's basically open. It goes through there. They've got a quiz, identifying problem activities, and we've also got an assignment, what's the problem? Okay, so why am I showing that? Because when we go into week 2, it's basically generating ideas. Unless they pass, what's the problem, which was back in this week 1, they mark it as complete. So here it says, is marked complete. So you don't hold them up if they don't do it. They've actually can tick off that they've marked it complete. So you're asking them to be honest, have they completed it or not? So you're holding them accountable by giving them the right information in the first case. So this is where you teach them to, I guess, basically be honest. And when people think that you can check up on them, generally I find that they tend to be honest. And when you start to fix their problems, some of their problems, they start to work out on their own how to fix other problems. Okay, so when we get in here, we say how to generate ideas at work. You need to get a required score. So in week 2, when we go down in here, the quiz, how to generate ideas, I'll just click on this for a moment. Okay, I'm going to go into preview quiz, continue last preview, and you can see that it's got 4 questions. Okay, so they go in here, 1, 2, 3, 4, and they go through that, and then they submit it. All right. So when we go back here again, okay, they need to get a required score. Required score. So we'll see what that required score is. I'm going to click on the topic, and I'm going to go in and have a look here. Restrict access. They need to get 100%. So they need to get all 4 questions right before they move on, or we're going to give them access even to the next topic. Okay, so that's one way you can do it. You can also do, when we've got this one here, week 3, planning and organising commitments. When we go down, week 4, which is moving into the next section, which is a different type of skills that they're going to be building. It says establish decision-making scope. So what I've decided that if they get through week 3, they might get it half right, 75% right. Okay, and that might be enough to pass. But they still need to do the other 4 questions. So what I've done is I've actually put a restriction in this one that says they don't have to get everything right. They've only got to get 75%. So if they get 3 out of the 4 questions right, then they get access to the next one, which is fine. But what I don't want to do is I don't want to give them access to the other ones. So this section is basically, you can see here, required score in week 5, okay, but I don't want them to get too far ahead of themselves. If they can't complete this one, they need to get 100% in week 3 if they're going to move on to this one. So you can see that it puts levels there. So it's talking about people that have got different skill levels. So this is all done automatically. So when they get 75% in this, they say, hey, you can go along to, you can move on to week 4, but don't go on to week 5 to 8 yet. We're not going to let you choose which one in week 5 to 8, which is all explained in this one here. But have a look at week 4 and see if that's going to help you complete your planning and organising your work commitments, because maybe they've got a problem with their decision-making scope as to what they're going to decide. We teach them in week 3 how to prioritise things, but they might need to add in extra conditions. They might have extra things in their life, which we teach them in week 4. So we're going to get them to go along, and this is all automatic. So then it comes down to that when they go back, and they get week 3 100%, so they can go into week 4, they can do that, but that's still not going to open up weeks 5 to 8. To open up weeks 5 to 8, they basically need to go up to back to week 3 and get it 100%, and then they can choose which one they do. They don't have to do it in week 5, week 6, week 7 order. They might want to go straight to selecting ideas for implementation to get some confidence up. So they do week 8, and then they might go back to recognising opportunities because their boss is willing to help them. Maybe they've got the skills already and they want to practice with week 8, but their boss is going to help them out with week 6, so they do that next, and then their boss could even help them out with the decision-making scope here as well. They could ask their boss, what do you use for the decision-making process? How do you decide what to do? And then they can do that. So it sort of gives them going in there, or they can ask their trainers, can you give me some ideas for decision-making scope? But the trainers don't actually have to contact them, or they can email them, or they can book in an appointment. You can put all these things in there as well. Okay, so when we go down here, the section 3 is about actually implementing. Okay, so when we have a look at this one, it's about, are you ready to start work? So again, we're asking them to do a self-assessment, which section 3, implementing skills. Are you ready to start work? So they do a quiz here, and it's basically just saying, yes, that you agree that you're willing to do work in the real world, you've got a charity or something you want to work for, or you're building your own business and you're committed to doing the next part of the course in the real world. And it's a simple yes or no. Yes, you are, or maybe, you might say. If it's a maybe, then we're going to want to talk to them and go through it. If no, they're not ready, it's a simple no. It's like they get feedback when they submit saying, okay, well, when you're ready or when you've got somewhere, come back, change the answer, and then it's going to open up all of this stuff and we can do it. So we're going to see in the reports all of the people that are enrolled in this course. So you could have 300-400 people and go through, and you can see the ones when they're ready to work that are saying that they're ready to work. So these are the ones that you're going to contact with. Now in here, it's going to ask them, are they ready for work? They need to name the place where they're going to work, because we want to basically help them and work out the situation and all this sort of thing. But we're also trying to refer them to people. So if we see the type of business they're doing here, we've got businesses in our network, in the small business network, that are looking for people, and they might have a job for them, or at least some contract work, or they might, let them do their social media or something like this sort of thing. So, there's a lot of small businesses out there that want that. The business owners are doing it themselves, but it's a big barrier for them to grow their business, and they've survived COVID-19. Now they've got to get there and grow their business, and they need help, and they can't get help because there's 40,000 jobs advertised in Australia with bigger companies on the internet for things like, salespeople and, customer contact. Receptionists, even, office assistants. A lot of this stuff can be done online, and we've seen that during COVID. They don't have to physically be in the office anymore. So when there's 40,000 jobs advertised for big businesses, there's only 200,000 long-term unemployed in Australia. So that means in 6 months, all of those long-term unemployed could be doing these jobs if they wanted to. But it just comes down to the fact that if basically 10% of small businesses want to put on an extra person, they literally cannot get the staff, and that's why they end up going overseas to an overseas virtual assistant or something like that. Not because it's cheap labour anymore, it's because you simply can't get the help in Australia because of the skills shortages and all this sort of stuff. Okay, so that's just a bit of a run through. It's more so for consultants or businesses that are looking to set up training courses for your customers. This is it's cheap, it's free. You just need to be able to, in the same way that you can install WordPress onto your domain, you need the facility to install Moodle onto your subdomain. And a lot of website hosting or web developers don't actually have the cPanel or the Plesk access to do that with their host. They just create the domain. I don't know how that works. I only use the cPanel, and in there's a automatic installation software where you just put, in this case, I put inception.net .au/learn, and I installed Moodle onto there. So it's not like Wix, where you install Wix onto your domain and it takes over the whole domain and all this sort of stuff. Okay, reach out if you've got any questions. But this is what I've been getting paid to do for RTOs for a few years now. It's just that it's so simple to me that I don't mean to demean these people that are getting $100,000 or $150,000 a year doing it for training organisations, because it does involve a lot of skill. It's just not what I do. I basically want to do the training, but as I want to do the training, it's like setting up a WordPress website. If you can do it, you do it yourself, and you set it up the way that you want, and then you don't have to go back and change it and all this sort of stuff. If someone else sets it up for you, you've got to go through, and it's a lot of backwards and forwards and all this sort of stuff. So that's why people it's just quicker to do it themselves. So not something that I promote. Not quicker to do it yourself, but this is something that I know that in the long term, this is going to setting up this learning website the way that I want it is going to be something that's functional. It's going to be more profitable. I'm not relying on, if I get in trainers, they don't want to be creating extra work for themselves. They're coming in basically to do some coaching and mentoring, and they don't want it to be too much hard work, because it's just not worth the money for them. And I want to make it as easy as possible for them to come in and talk to my members, and actually giving them tips and advice and actionable things that's going to increase their earning capacity. And that's why I'm using this particular learning website. Okay, so if you've got any questions, let me know.